No problem. Thank you to the organizing committee. A huge thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you this morning about plants and people, of course, but also migrations, globalization, and the role of ethnobiology in all of this. So the pictures that you see here on this slide, on this title slide, are from a place where I live and work, the Bronx in New York City. And it's an area with a lot of migrants. More than 40% of people living in the Bronx was foreign-born, this includes Puerto Rico and U.S. island areas. More than half of the residents speaks a different language at home than English. And also the majority is Latino or Hispanic, coming from the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America. So it's a very ethno-culturally diverse space. And it provides an interesting opportunity to study the continuation of plant uses, like we have community gardens here, but also look at how cultural beliefs and practices and knowledge are transformed. So I use the word ethnobiology in my presentation, and I want to specify that for the purpose of this presentation, I'm using it as a synonym of ethnobotany and economic botany in a broad sense. You know, the Society for Economic Botany website itself does not only focus on plant uses by people, but the relationships between people, plants, and the environment. So, and on the right side, I gave some schematic diagrams of how, you know, according to your own research interest, you might see this differently. That's okay, of course, and see them as complementary subdisciplines with overlapping fields, or as one being more of an umbrella discipline for the other. But in this presentation here, I'm just using it as a synonym. So, okay, I see that some of my pictures have all of a sudden disappeared. So there was this nice picture on here. This does not continue. The world is definitely on the move. Let me see. No, just one got lost. I don't have to tell you this. So in 2015, the number of international migrants in the world reached 244 million people, and this includes about 20 million refugees. So if you come to think of it, 34,000 people are forcibly displaced from their homes every day, and the rate of growth of international migrants is higher than that of the rate of population growth in the world. So it's really a phenomenon that we have to take into account. And where do migrants reside? Mostly in the economically more developed north. And it's important, you know, again, to stress that they're bringing their plants, but also their worldviews, cultural beliefs, and practices with them. So the world is on the move, and cities are growing. Here are some numbers from the United Nations Populations Fund. By 2030, 60% of the world's population will live in cities. In the more economically developed north, the majority has already been reached before 2007, but in the south, by 2030, more than half of the world population will live in cities. It's predicted that there will be about 41 mega cities, cities of 10 million inhabitants or more, but there will also be an incredible growth of smaller cities, counting less than 1 million people. So I think the previous talk was also talking about abandonment. The countryside is shrinking and urban areas are growing, and this makes that cities are transformed into ethnoculturally diverse societies. Again, some missing pictures here. I'm going to just fill you in, talk you through them. I tested my presentation this morning and it looked okay. I don't know why all of a sudden it has disappeared. So, but people bring with them their worldviews, cultural beliefs, and practices. Here, this is a picture of the Bronx. You see an urgent care medical center. And next to it is a botanica store. And I have some pictures inside the store as well. So botanica shops are operated by Latino and Caribbean immigrants, and the ethnicity of the owner is reflective of the neighborhood in the Bronx. That's a lot of Caribbeans. In Queens, it may be more South Americans. But these are shops that import plants for physical healing, but also for religious and spiritual well-being. So the definition of health is expanded, not just absence of disease, but the state of physical, social, and emotional well-being. So you have plants that are coming from all over the world, basically, even though they may be operated by Caribbean immigrants. If it's hard for them, so this picture slide was showing Botanica staff owner holding mini henwheat, they call it anamu, and he was showing a fresh sample that he got from Florida, and then he was showing a packaged sample of roots that he got straight from the Dominican Republic. So he was also telling me I'm getting my plants from basically everywhere, Israel, Florida, wherever I can get them, and also depending on importation restrictions. This picture here was from my own supermarket in the Bronx, where I can get a wide diversity of foods that are, again, reflective of the communities that live in that area. So culture is embedded in language. To understand those knowledge systems, we do not only have to speak the language, but also understand it. So I think it was the writer Khaled Hosseini who said, if culture is a house, then language is the key to the front door and to all the rooms inside. So it's not only about preserving linguistic diversity and promoting education in multiple languages, but also keeping those traditions alive, inspiring solidarity and dialogue. And again, looking at my own place where I live in New York City, where there are 600 to 800 languages spoken, many of those languages are endangered. So in New York City, we're finding now the sole survivors of languages, which is pretty impressive. Okay. Thank God. So the world, I don't have to tell you this, you do know that ecosystem is replaced by the ecosystem, in which man sees himself on top of the ecosystem and not just part of it, and this has a lot of devastating effects. We're facing global environmental challenges. So by the way, today is World Environment Day from the United Nations, so it's an appropriate day to give this talk. And it's important to know that both are linked, right? So if we have climate change, if we have loss of biological diversity, this is gonna lead to environmental degradation, and this in itself is gonna affect our food productivity and lead to malnutrition and illness, which in fact, feeds into the agro ecosystem again. So I'm going to run you through some of the global human well-being challenges now. The first one being that half of the world's languages is currently threatened, in danger of extinction. And this is a map from the Living Tongues Institute for Endangered Languages. It's showing language hotspots. And threat levels are medium, high, or severe. And you see that there's a problem with languages. So without language, there is no survival of culture. Then also our diets are not diverse. We know that already, right? So there are at least 50,000 edible species around the world. I'm finding figures that vary between 30,000 and 70,000, but this was the one I came across most. And about 7,000 species have been cultivated throughout human history. But our diets are depending largely on a very limited number of crop species, about 100. And of the world's food energy intake is very largely dependent on rice, wheat, and maize. So we have that incredible diversity of edible plants, and yet our diets are so narrow. It's actually more complex than that, because I think maybe 20 years ago it was very hard to obtain quinoa in the supermarket. You know, a grain here, I couldn't easily get that, maybe through a health food store. Whereas nowadays, I have access to that. But at the same time, globally, you know, our diets are very narrow. So the FAO and Biodiversity International, they're heavily focusing on neglected and underutilized species, and I had a picture here of those, Moringa oleifera. So these are species to which agricultural researchers, plant breeders, and policymakers are paying relatively little attention. And many of them can be very nutritious, like Moringa oleifera. It's a species that is currently used in clinical trials in Africa. It has a lot of protein, and it's being evaluated for its usefulness to help with malnutrition. So here I have one picture here. This is actually the powdered form. All the parts of the plant are edible, leaves, seeds, roots, and so on. Moringa oleifera. Right. These are some other neglected and underutilized species. Should I try to close the presentation and open it again? Yeah, because otherwise I'm just giving a talk. Okay. My apologies. A Mexican vendor in the Bronx selling the shoots of cucurbitaceae family. They're eaten as well. Yeah, we got this. Okay, this is the urgent care biomedical facility, and next to it, Botanica store that is a sort of invisible but parallel healthcare system. One of the things that I'm doing in New York City is training medical students and practicing physicians into, understanding the plants that are sold there, but also the cultural beliefs and practices that underlie people's use of plants. Because physicians had grown to understand that they gave their patient a prescription, and that the patient, knowing what the diagnosis was, would just walk out of the door, throw the prescription away, and then head straight to the Botanica. Because people have trust. You know, during interviews that we did, that came back over and over again. We have faith, and we have faith in the herbal remedies as part of our culture. So this is the guinea hen wheat, anamu, the packaged and the fresh, and this is a picture of supermarket produced browns, aloe vera, yams, but also other products that are consumed a lot by the Mexican community that lives there. Okay. Right, here is the Moringa oleifera, the dried leaves that are ground, the seeds, all edible. And here this is, because it's important to Caribbeans, Moringa oleifera. In Botanica shops, you find these posters. I have here Moringa. It says long life, and it is claimed to be able to prevent and treat more than 300 different illnesses. So these are other neglected and underutilized species. These are some from my fieldwork in Jamaica, breadfruit, Artocarpus altilis, Aki, Callaloo, Amaranthus viridis, also a Mediterranean vegetable, and then yams. So these are the traditional culinary practices that go with having these foods. The roasting of the breadfruit combined with the ackee and saltfish. The callaloo with yellow yams are a pot of tubers with plantains and bananas and coconut milk. So this is in contrast, these traditional practices with, so it's not only about the limitation of the number of crops that make up our diet, but also the genetic diversity within crops, the crop varieties. And this picture from Rural Advancement Foundation International, this graph, better said, shows the difference between, on the top, you have the seeds offered in 1903 by the national seed, commercial seed houses in the U.S. And this is the situation 80 years later. The varieties of seeds present in the National Seed Storage Laboratory. For instance, if we look at radish, in 1903, there were 463 varieties of radish that were commercially sold. And 80 years later, there are 27 different varieties. So this, of course, affects our, health and well-being. And these are data from interviews in New York City with 208 participants from 4 different communities, immigrants from the Dominican Republic, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, and Mexicans. And we asked one-on-one interviews, each person, what do you think are the most important community health problems in your community? And not a surprise, diabetes ranks first in each community. Other chronic and non-communicable diseases, our symptoms include hypertension, arthritis, cancer, mental health. So basically these communities are struggling with the same problems. And maybe you think, well, yes, that's because it's a big city. It's New York City, that's where all the problems are. But then in Jamaica, and this is in collaboration with Nathan Picking, who's is also in the room. We compared our data from New York City Jamaicans and their reported community health problems with interviews with Jamaicans in Kingston and in rural Jamaica. And again, diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, cancer, asthma, mental health are coming up strongly. So we have the same patterns here. So then, plant pharmacopoeia, what happens with those to treat diabetes? And I'm just listing the plants in each community that are mentioned by more than 5% of participants. So the species that we see here are aloe vera, again the Moringa oleifera, it's a popular one, the long life, Opuntia ficus indica and Lopalia cochunulifera, cinnamon species and cassia species, but also the Momordica charantia. So again, there is considerable overlap. So this is again the Momordica charantia, called bitter melon or cerasee or kuliamor. It's used because it's a bitter herb, and people tell us, the bitterness, again, the same thing with savla, burns the sugar in blood, it balances it out. Sometimes I'm having conversations with people, they're trying to convince me that it's okay to drink soda and eat lots of candy, as long as you also drink your bitter herb teas. So, that will balance out the blood again. So, there is this very interesting new report that came out from Q Science in 2017, talking about the state of the world's plants and listing more than 28,000 plant species that have recorded medicinal uses. And this stands, again, in contrast to the low number of, relatively limited number of species that are listed in official plant pharmacopoeia. There's also this effect of globalization, a sort of homogenizing of plant knowledge. Now, which brings me to my point is, biological and cultural diversity should be looked at together and arriving at the point of where does ethnobiology stand in all of this. Because you have your diets, you have your well-being and health, you have your cultural heritage, you have your, let's say, social justice, and because there's inequality in healthcare access, you have your food security, and people have all that knowledge. This is a picture of a Jamaican person in a Bronx community garden talking about Dysphagia ambrosioides. So that is a species that is used mainly medicinally by Jamaicans. Mexicans will also use it very preferably as a condiment. And in those community gardens, these are interesting spaces. I had a Puerto Rican person talking to me about cerasee, whereas in the Caribbean, Spanish-speaking Caribbean, people talk about kuliamor. And I said, why do you call it cerasee instead of kuliamor? And he said, well, I learned it from a Jamaican. So people exchange that knowledge. And it's important to preserve biocultural diversity. And the United Nations Global Strategy for Plant Conservation, in order to help species loss worldwide, by 2020 we're going to have to be in a hurry, right? So there are 16 targets, and for ethnobiology research, 4 targets are particularly interesting. Target 9, not only to conserve the genetic diversity of crops and wild relatives, but also those of plants that are important to local communities for their livelihood. And what I found particularly interesting is that it's not only about safeguarding the plants, but also about preserving indigenous and local practices that make up culture. So then the question begs, and I'm going towards the end of my talk now, and I'm citing Dr. Brands, who's also in the room. Where does ethnobiology stand in all of this as a science? And one thing that and this is my personal view on it, but the more I'm studying plants, the more I'm starting to feel like an anthropologist, or like that I should have, studied anthropology, because the role of culture is so important, the cultural context of plant use, and the cultural needs of the communities we work with. So Dr. Prance, and this is also on the website of the Society for Economic Botany, ethnobotany is the science of survival. Because, if we look at all the pressing environmental and humanitarian challenges that we're confronting, what can we do better as ethnobiologists? Are we talking enough not only from ethnobiologists to ethnobiologists, but also to other actors in society? And how do we best raise awareness of ethnobiology and usefulness of biocultural diversity and its study across the board? How do we build better partnerships? So it's not, ethnobiologists don't want to be in this position as a cartoon in the New Yorker that says, we're heading off the cliff, and oh, by the way, there is something that we could help to prevent this. So, citing here some articles, some quotes from articles from Gary Napan and Steve Wolverton, Ethnobiology in a Diverse World, or Ethnobiology in an Era of Rapid Environmental Change. Where are we going? What are we? What should we do? They seem to be calling for more societal action. And in order, talking about a next phase in ethnobiology 5. So in order to get there, there were some phases that are summarized in the literature. First, the utilitarian ethnobotany focused on plant uses. That was mostly the end of the 19th century. Then adding to the field, a more anthropological context from the field of cognitive psychology and linguistics to broadening ethnobiology research towards ecological and agricultural context, and phase 4, the phase of intellectual property rights and social justice, and then phase 5, do we have a term for it already? I just put down the keyword survival, Gary Napan seemed to emphasize that it's important, since we're a very multidisciplinary field of study, that we use that as a strength to address core problems in our globalized society. And there has been a lot of debate and dialogue about the usefulness of genetically manipulated organisms. Are we in the same way talking about, we have all these plant varieties, there's all that knowledge out there. Are we contributing to that dialogue away from our academic rooms and institutions? So maybe this is a little provocative, but I thought it was an interesting comparison, comparing ethnobiology with conservation biology, and it's from an article by Wolverton saying that for conservation biology, the mission is very focused, preserving the evolution of genes, population, species, and so on. And the audience, because that focused mission is so immediately relevant to a large group of society, there is a broad audience for it. whereas ethnobiology is reverse, has a very broad mission to study all the mutual interactions between plants, people, and the environment. But because it's so broad, that may limit its audience. Whether you agree with it or not, that is open for debate, but I think it's interesting and important to have that debate. So my take-home message, in a globalized society, there is room for the traditional and for the new, for the modern and the traditional. And I'm trying to, this is a picture from Jamaica again. You have the free roaming goat taking a nap in the shade of the car with a big billboard for a communications company that's keeping us connected through the phone and through the internet. So our position as an interdisciplinary field of study offers unique opportunities to be a leader for multicultural, resilient societies. And we can do that, and the extent to which we want to do that can depend on each of us and what our specific interests are. I mean, if you don't want to be shouting on a soapbox that, ethnobiology should save the world, that is fine. But you can then maybe contribute by focusing in your articles more and better on the cultural context of your data, on the cultural relevance and the cultural needs of the communities you're working with. Help build theory, make cross-cultural comparative study. And if you want to go further, you can think about expanding your reach. And I'm not doing that because, of course, I'm preaching to the choir here, but to talk to a wider diversity of academic and societal actors. And this also means think about and reflect the cultural needs of the communities we work with. Because without them, we are nothing, They are our leaders and our teachers in the field. This is not what we want. We also don't want ethnobiology to be static and only looking at traditions. We want indigenous and local communities to be co-creators, co-designers, co-actors, and co-leaders together with us. And to end my presentation, I would like to dedicate it to one of my wise teachers who just passed away, because I can safely say that I got my academic degree at university, but Junie from Windsor Forest, she taught me how to listen better, look better, and understand better. Thank you so much.
Because we have tried before and before, okay? So, we have time for one question.
Yes, Rick?
Yes. Well, thank you. That's a very useful summary of the issues. I do have one problem, not with your work, but with the National Geographic slide. Setting aside the fact that National Geographic may now be more of a problem than the solution, especially with their partnership with Fox Corporation, putting hotspots up there and using the hotspot concept when applied to human populations and languages, I think is very dangerous. It's problematic even within conservation biology, just for conservation areas, but once we start doing that for cultures and languages, the possibility is that people get marginalized and excluded even further. So I just ask that we critically evaluate that before putting that concept forward to our colleagues in the public.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good comment. I also think that the map, if you look at the level of resolution of the map, it seems to signal out different, a lot of different places. But
yeah.
It's your concern.
I agree, and I've certainly had some maps out there, but it's the saying hotspot I think is a problem more than I don't mind the mapping. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your lectures. That's very interesting. And now we have, so can you applaud?